Is it me, or does Modern Horizons sound a bit like the name of a soap opera? Or perhaps a news programme about the development of underprivileged and economically deprived council estates in the north of England? Yeah. I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and Modern Horizons is coming. I'm a little bit late to talk about this. Wizards were kind enough to announce the whole thing whilst I was travelling around America. It was announced by Matt Nass and Cassius Marsh, who, of course, I've interviewed now because I'm kind of a big deal. They were brought onto a live stream to reveal Modern Horizons! I mean, I still think it sounds like a soap opera even when I put the dramatic spin on it. This is a set where they're printing new cards into Modern, or printing cards that weren't already existing in Modern, like old frame stuff, things that are legal in Legacy now, but not legal in Modern yet. There will be 254 cards. That's 254 cards entering Modern. Now, obviously, all cards going through Standard enter Modern, but most of the time they are depowered, limited, jank, or cards that they know won't affect Modern. Now, not all of these cards will have an effect on Modern. Some of them will be limited chaff as well, as it is a draft-designed format, but imagine at least 10% of these cards make their way into Modern. Imagine just 25 cards either reinvigorate old archetypes that aren't seeing much play, transform other decks, or create entire new archetypes. That's pretty exciting. Considerable change in Modern, in my opinion, is a good thing. I think Modern has been up and down, but on the whole, on a downward sort of trend towards depraved sort of drag racing and masturbation, as opposed to interactive fun games of Magic for the most part. I am fucking hyped. I don't think I've been this hyped about a set announcement in a long time. When I heard about it, I was sat in American Dino on my little tour of America, and when I saw Cabal Therapist, I genuinely thought, huh, this is fucking exciting. Imagine the stuff they could do. And don't forget, these cards are hitting Modern, but they'll also hit Legacy and Vintage and Commander as well. There's going to be a lot of new blood injected into the old Eternal formats, and I for one like the idea that Wizards might still care. Even just a small amount might still care about the Eternal formats. It's also worth noting, and I don't think many people have spoken about this, that there is a Biobox promo for this set. That means when you buy a box from your LGS, you will get some form of Biobox promo, and if it goes with the conventions of the previous Biobox promos, like Nexus of Fate, that fucking worm, and Sunspeaker and Fire Minotaur Man, if it has the conventions of those, it means it won't be in the set. Now, if this is a unique card printed that affects Legacy, Modern, or Vintage in some way, then that card is going to demand an astronomically high price tag. I hope they are aware of this. I hope the card is either A, depowered. My camera didn't focus, try again. It's either A, fucking hell, my counter ages to focus then. Depowered and not good enough. Or B, it is a card that already exists in Legacy, and it's just kind of like a promo. Like a promo of any of the cards that I'm going to mention in a moment that I want to see reprinted. God, that was hard work to work. I don't even know if it's going to look good on the camera. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So this video is about reprints that I want to see happen, which means there's going to be a lot of disagreement and people thinking that I'm insane. Please, by all means, sound off in the comment section below to tell me if you disagree, and I would like to see what other people think. In discussing this at GPLA, people were saying things that I hadn't even thought of. There was a lot of cards they could print, or effects they could similarly print. Some sort of like depowered version of Tabernacle, for example. Don't do that. That'd be fucking awful. Please don't. And before we begin, let me just make sure that you're all aware that no reserve list cards will be on this list. So if a card is missing and you're like, Vince, why didn't you say City of Traitors? Well, perhaps consider the fact that that's on the reserve list. So check if things on the reserve list before you tell me off for it, okay? And before we begin, some honourable mentions. Firstly, Baleful Strix. Cards great, cards gas. The Value Bird could open up room for Grixis midrange or Tezzerator decks to perform, but I feel like it's too much of a brick wall against the fairer decks in the format. The decks that don't give a shit and can swing relentlessly into the Death Bird, like Phoenix perhaps, or Dredge, don't need the help, guys. This card would set back and slow down modern creature-based decks. And whilst I want in general for this set to help slow down Modern and make it more of an interactive and back-and-forth format, I don't think hindering the creature decks is the way that we do that. Of course, I am a little bit biased because my favourite decks want to play creatures that do cool things and then engage in combat a bit further down the line. But yeah, I think Strix just wouldn't be a good fit for Modern and would be too harsh on those creature-based strategies. And for any of you who are thinking, let's just use a removal spell on that creature, like, you know, just plow it or path it or whatever removal is available, push even, you know, no. That's how you lose games. That is the path to defeat. to use a pun about Path to Exile. Wasting your valuable removal on their can-tripping bird is serious. That's not value or value, that's like fucking... That's how you lose. Don't do that if you can help it. I guess the best way to put it is, it's like getting Taco Bell when you could have got Chipotle. Don't do that to yourself. Also, another honourable mention, and by honourable mentions I mean cards that I don't think should make it into Modern, but people are suggesting anyway. True Name Nemesis. Stop smoking crack. The card is a fucking mistake. It's an egregious design mistake. It should not have been in blue. The colour has access to things like Force of Will to protect it and can be pitched to Force of Will in Eternal formats. The card should not be as uninteractive as it is. In a multiplayer format where it was first put in, like in Commander, where you've got other players to sort of offset the power of it, fine. But in 1v1, it's just not good Magic. Putting that into Modern, again, I guess would allow some control and mid-range strategies to have a threat that the faster decks can't really deal with, but they'll just fucking kill you anyway. It doesn't serve any purpose in what I think the set can do, which is improve Modern. It'll just make matches, again, less interactive, which is not what Magic should be, in my humble opinion. If you like drag racing so much, why don't you go brew a Belcher deck in Legacy, you fucking miscreants? Say no to True Name Nemesis. Let's talk about my picks so you can hammer me in the comment section for saying that's not good Magic. Oh, hammer me. I've chosen the number 5 for this list because it's just an arbitrary number that people seem to like on lists and shit. I have picked Containment Priest. I am slightly apprehensive because she's human, and humans is a problem. If you keep giving that tribe more and more hateful effects and hoses and things, and perhaps the deck just gets too good. So allowing them to mainboard that counterplay is frustrating, but I think Containment Priest is on a power level that is fitting for Modern. Faithless Looting is kind of now the poster child of Modern. The banned announcements happened yesterday. I was going to make this video yesterday, but I decided to pause and wait to find out if Faithless Looting got banned, and this whole bit I'd written on my script was fucking nonsense. If Brainstorm holds up Legacy, then it's very true that Faithless Looting is one of the cards, or the card that holds up in Modern. At the moment, the best decks in the format use Faithless Looting, Dredge, and Phoenix. A graveyard-hating hate bear with Flash would be so fucking sick for allowing us to have a creature that does something. It's proactive, it attacks, unlike a Rest in Peace does, but also stops some of the degenerate nonsense that comes out of the other players. The other thing is that it's fair, it's killable. You can kill it with a Lightning Axe or a Conflagrate, so it's not like there isn't counterplay involved. I think Priest is a very easy shoe-in, and I'll actually be shocked if it doesn't make the cut. It just seems completely on par with the rest of what Modern is doing, and I really look forward to playing with Containment Priest come May. It comes out in May, which is pretty cool because that's my birthday. I turned 21 in May. For my fourth option, we come to our first either or. What I mean by this is that I'm not being indecisive or like cheating on the numbers and shit. What I mean is you can have one or the other, but I think both would be damaging potentially, or too fucking good. It would also potentially shift the format to be too much of Legacy Light, which is something that a lot of people don't want to see. I personally don't mind that, but I see why people wouldn't want that. Modern isn't interactive enough in my opinion. Sometimes you have good games of Magic, but other times you frantically masturbate onto the table, cum your load, and hope there isn't a hosing card like Leyline of the Void or Rest in Peace to soak up that cum, so you can bask in the glory of that cum. That analogy kind of fell apart. I think with Modern being one of the most popular competitive formats of Magic, it should represent what Magic can be on a broader spectrum, and that means allowing the decks that want to be interactive and mid-range and controlling to be mid-range and controlling. For this reason, I would like Force of Will, or maybe Daze. Daze is dangerous because it enables decks that have very strong tempo games to protect their pieces against interaction. So for example, you would have the back and forth of Infect being able to tap out and protect itself against removal. And I, for one, don't want Infect to be the top deck in the format. Let's be honest, no one does. Not even Infect players. They only play Infect because they hate themselves. Force feels a lot safer. Force of Will is a bad card that you will often sideboard out in the mid-range matchups. When you're playing one fair deck against another, you don't want to go 2 for 1 to stop one of their threats. You want 1 for 1. Force of Will excels at stopping real degenerate things or super haymakers. We're talking conflagrating your board. We're talking in Legacy, the Charbelcher, or the Tutor for the Storm spell. Force of Will dominates Legacy in some ways because it is the gatekeeper, it is the safety valve that means people can't rock up the tournaments with turn 1 combo decks and win because they often just fold to Force. I would go as far as to say I don't think Force would be as good in Modern as it is in Legacy. It would give control decks the ability to tap out with something like a Teferi or a Mind Sculptor and keep up Force of Will backup, which sounds... that's probably the best case scenario, and it sounds very good. So that is something that I'm wary of. But forcing one of the many cantrips that brings like a Phoenix, or forcing one of the spells that allow you to dredge in Dredge seems bad. I guess the best case scenario on average would be to force the payoff for Tron, when they make the Tron lands and make 7 mana in Castle Khan, but you've still got that inevitability of Tron top decking another powerful threat, because that's what Tron does. It has the inevitability of being the best top deck in the format. If you're thinking that Force of Will is just too good and I'm crazy, by all means tell me in the comment section, but just think about it. If you haven't played with Force in Legacy, you might misunderstand its power level ever so slightly due to its reputation. In the same way that a lot of people were very fearful when Jace got unbanned in Modern, myself included. I'd played with Jace before, but I thought it might be too good. Some people get bogged down with the boogeyman or rumour aspect of the card. The other cool thing about Force of Will is that it creates sub-games in Magic, where you have to think about what's in your opponent's hand. Do you want to trade these 2 resources for this 1 card, or do you think they might have a counterspell for your Force, or a follow-up card that might be worse? The interplay between hand, board state, and stack becomes a lot more prevalent in formats with Force. That might be slightly to do with Brainstorm as well, with card selection. That's one of the great things about Legacy. It's interactive on many levels, not just the red zone, and I think Force of Will could could help Modern become more like that. At number 3, I'm going to choose Goblin Lackey. The 8-whack version of Goblins is boring. I'm sorry if you're super into it. I don't want to shit on your parade. I'm always a big proponent of let's joke about decks and not hurt the players too much. Sorry, Inflect players, for the comment a moment ago, but come on. Really? I think 8-whack is linear and it's boring. Goblins in Legacy, on the other hand, is one of the most fun control decks alongside Death and Taxes that isn't a straight sort of like draw-go control deck. It can be everything. It can be aggro, it can be tempo, it can be control, it can have combo finishes, and the reason for that are 3 cards. We've got Lackey, we've got Goblin Matron, and we've got Goblin Ringleader. Lackey allows you to cheat on mana and put things into play quicker. Matron allows you to just get up your silver bullets and your utility goblins, and Ringleader just gives you card advantage, which is quite rare in a red creature-based deck like this. If we put all of them into Modern, I think it might just be too good, although the deck does depend upon certain lands in Legacy that we probably won't get in this set. However, I think 1 or 2 of these cards could open up Goblins to be a mid-range, sort of tricksy creature deck that I like playing, similar to Death and Taxes in many ways, instead of just being this sort of like shit out your hand and turn things sideways deck that can be fun for a little while but doesn't give you much breathing room to learn or change the deck. I think Lackey itself would allow the deck to be explosive, allowing you to cheat in things like Siege Gang Commanders and Trash Masters and such, but not as consistent as what Ringleader and Matron allow. In short, guys, make Goblins great again. Probably one of these 3, but preferably I think Lackey belongs the best. In at number 2, I've got one that's going to be controversial. I think Ancient Tomb deserves a spot in Modern, or at least a chance in Modern. Fast mana is really fucking dangerous. I'm completely aware of that. Obviously, look at all the Moxes, apart from Mox Opal, getting banned out in Modern as well. I think if it's a true Soul Land, it allows you to play Chalice the Void for 1 on turn 1 consistently, or at least semi-consistently, would open Prison up to be a real strategy, not some sort of tier 2 thing that kind of shows up in top 8s now and again. I think a Chalice on 1 would punish a lot of the linear decks that are looking to churn out cost-efficient spells. Death Shadow probably wouldn't like it very much. Phoenix certainly wouldn't like it very much. Storm would be pissed off with it, I think. It would push decks to diversify what they've got going on. It means that Blood Moon would be more of an omnipresent threat as well. I know a lot of people hate Blood Moon and Chalice effects, but I think they do push the format to vary things up a little bit. The problem we've got, perhaps, is Eldrazi. I think Eldrazi Stompy deck with access to Ancient Tomb Modern might be very, very good. Chalice on 1, and then with Ancient Tomb doing a very good impression of Eye of Ugin, you might have some very explosive and silly draws. Not quite as explosive and silly, but pretty silly nonetheless. Maybe it's too good. I would like them to take risks, perhaps put Ancient Tomb into the format and then banning it later down the line to be like, look, we tried it, it wasn't good, we're sorry. I prefer that than them to take a safe stance and not try these things. And for anyone who's paying attention to the channel a lot and thinks that sounds a lot different to what I said when they unbanned Jason Bloodbraid Alpha, it was risky, I don't like the risk, I've changed my opinion. People can change, opinions can develop. I think that with Modern they can experiment a little bit, and I think it'll be perfectly fine. And then at number 1 is another either or. So yes, I am an indecisive man. Wasteland or Rishadenport? When I was speaking about this at GPLA with Crim, just to name drop another creator that I hang out with because I'm kind of a big deal now. Anyway, when I mentioned it to him, he lost his tiny little mind. He wants all these control cards, but he doesn't want us to have any way to interact with mana, apparently. Again, both together would just be too good. Death and Taxes would be a tier 1 deck, no questions asked. Aggro Loam, or some sort of lands variant that instead of finishing with Marit Lage, like it does in Legacy, could hit you with Mutavaults and Man lands. I don't think that sounds good. Well, actually, I lie. I would love it, but I think other people would hate it. I keep saying that Modern is too fast and too interactive, but then saying that I want lock pieces and prison elements and things like that, and things that stop you from playing Magic. Yeah, that's true. I think that prison strategies and resource denial is a very fun and interesting way to play Magic. I'm looking for meaningful ways for decks to interact on different axes. I mentioned earlier about Force of Will, creating a sub-game in hands more so than conventional counter Magic does, and Wasteland does the same. It affects the way you sequence things, what lands you fetch for, whether you play Wasteland and your deck construction itself. It just shifts the format to think about things in a slightly different way, which I think opens up more avenues for more play decisions and discussions. It creates tension in all the best ways. Now, Wasteland has more of a chance of being oppressive than Port does. Wasteland can get you, and then you just can't play any more Magic because you have no more lands available. It can also be recurred with Excavators and Crucible of Worlds and Life from the Loams, which just sounds like a hot fever dream to me, but other people don't like that so much. I get that. I think, though, allowing Knighted the Reliquary to fetch up Wasteland to allow Maverick strategies to exist is just all positive, in my eyes, opening up new archetypes that just struggle to exist in Modern. I mean, it gives you an alternative strategy to trying to make 12 to 18 power on turns 3 through 5. I think that's more than fair enough, and I think that's where Magic should be going. I will slam Wasteland plus Ghost Quarter 4 each with the Cat Jesus in D&T and Modern, and I will fucking lap that shit up. Obviously, Port is slightly less oppressive in many ways. Port opens up more decisions. Once you fire off a Wasteland, you fire off a Wasteland. Port is a decision every turn. Do I port or do I progress my own game plan? And that means people can make mistakes and you can capitalize on skill and leverage that as well. So I think Port is less oppressive in that sense. I think either one of these is perfectly in line with the rest of Modern and would open up space for different styles of decks and gameplay, and I am all for that. I think that if Wasteland existed, we may well actually see a low-to-the-ground Delver deck that would then fold to the Ancient Tomb Chalice deck. And yes, that does sound a bit like Legacy Light, but I think that sounds like a fun environment where people get to play different styles of decks. So what do you think? Am I insane? Am I biased? Are you sick of my stacks prison-loving nonsense? Is there a card that I have obviously omitted from my list and you want to include on such a list? Then comment down below, let me know what you think about my decisions and what you would choose as well. Maybe you'll say something and I'll be like, huh, I hadn't thought of that before. That's an interesting one. Oh, and give a reason to why you want the card to exist too. Don't just write Black Lotus, because that doesn't fucking fly, my friends. And now that I've said that, people will already be getting ready to type Black Lotus without a reason in the comments below. Thanks. I already preemptively hate it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Let me know what you think down below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, well, just fucking do it. Like the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Ta-ta for now.